All right, welcome back to our 7th edition of our 2024-2025 season previews for the SJHL, presented by our friends at Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association. Today, we are joined by the head coach and general manager of the Weyburn Red Wings, Cody Mapes. Cody, thank you for joining us today. How's everything going in Weyburn as we approach the preseason?
Yeah, things are good here. We're excited to get going. We've had a couple guys roll in real early here. Got some guys helping with the camp this weekend and stuff. So that's when it kind of starts to settle in on how far behind you are on getting ready, and it's exciting though.
Tell me about it. What did you get up to this summer? Were you busy? Did you get some downtime at all?
Yeah, I got a little downtime. Left the home renos until August, which might not have been the smartest move, but got those all done now, and so it's good though. We got out, had a little vacation time, some downtime, and it seems like this job can never end at times. So it's nice to get away for a week or two sometimes.
Yeah, there is no off season in junior hockey, I've always said. Let's look at last season here really quick. A 6th place finish. You guys took Humboldt all the way to Game 7 in just a crazy series. I don't know if you've even caught your breath from that series, because I remember seeing, I think it was Game 6 I was at, in Weyburn, I think, and that game was insane. And what can you take away from last season that you can now apply into this year's team?
Well, you know what? I think one of the biggest things from that series too was the impact it had in the community. Like, that was, if you were to look back at the last 15 years, there hasn't been a whole bunch of playoff experience or playoff success here. And obviously our goal isn't to be playing in Game 7s in round 1. That's not the end goal, but it did have a big impact of getting people into the rink and selling tickets and having people be excited. Even after losing some guys and stuff, there's still excitement leading into this year. So it's had a big impact on the community. On our guys, it's really good, and not just that playoff series, but I remember Rory at Christmas time talking about how we needed a stone and a sling to beat any of the top 4 teams, and he was completely right at the time. We came so far from that November team. We implemented a few things here, and just our mentality and our belief system of where we were at in March and beginning of April was way different, and that'll be a huge thing for our veteran group to carry forward this year. We returned a lot of guys that were impactful in that series, and their mentality from day one, the way they speak to their teammates, the way they handle practice, the way their mentality is towards competing and being present every day is going to be really important. So that's a huge thing that we learned probably from the middle of January on, and it just got emphasized in that series.
That Rory McGowan, what does he know? Don't give him too much credit. You mentioned the business side of things. I was going to ask you later, so let's get into it now. Has the momentum carried over into the summer? You kind of mentioned the fan engagement and interest. Where are you at with the business side of things right now with the Red Wings?
Yeah, things are good. Obviously, with Nick Nielsen moving on and working in PA now, we've hired a new guy in Ryder Burns, a young guy right out of school. He's been really, really good. Like I said, he is right out of school, just graduated. So I think it's been a learning curve for him, but he's been excited about the job and stuff. And so he's been in the community lots here, and he's done such a good job with our sponsorship. I know that our sponsors are excited about the upcoming year. We just sold out our golf tournament 100% to sponsors, and that's never happened before. So having something like that happen is exciting. The business side is good. I can't pretend like I'm part of it every single day, so I can't speak too much on it. But Ryder's been doing a real good job, and the board members that he works with and stuff. And we've got some new events coming up here and stuff like that. A little bit of I don't want to call it a sportsman dinner, but something similar. And so, we're pretty excited about the way that stuff's all going.
Awesome. Yeah, I met Ryder last week in the SJHL marketing meeting. Seems like he's right for the job. He's an eager kid, and I look forward to getting to work with him a little bit more as we go. Let's have a look at your team now, roster-wise. I know you graduated a good chunk of the production last year, and your 20-year-olds and some guys moving on, but you were able to add some guys as well. Let's start with the returners up front with the forward group. Who's coming back that you're excited to maybe give a bit of a bigger role to this year going into the season?
Yeah, you know what? You look at guys like Blake Betson and Bray Legrander, they're going into their third years. They've been good soldiers. They've never complained about ice time. They've never asked for more or less or anything like that. They've always been excited for the role they've had. And now this year, they're really going to go into a role where they get the opportunity to be offensive guys. And I've known them for a long time, especially Betson. I do expect those guys to have big years. To jump from that 25-point mark to that 50-point mark, I think is a realistic expectation for guys like that. I think that Fitzgerald coming back, he's been an offensive guy his whole career, and so I mean, him being a 20-year-old, I know that he's going to be excited about a bigger role, and he was so good for us in the playoffs. Playing with a guy like Ruthven and Viz, they were so good, especially at home. And so those three guys up front are good. Obviously, we're excited about Schmieder and Moldy and Lacoste and those guys coming back just to see where everything's going to be at. You never know what you're coming back into a second year. Usually, there's a big jump for those guys, so we're definitely excited about that. And then the guys that we've added, obviously adding a guy like Keenan Ingram that can score like he can is huge for us. Just added Samuel Massey out of the Maritimes League. He had 52 points, I believe, in that league. So I mean, there's some dynamic players that we've added. I think that we'll get to once you ask, but our back end and our goaltending we're really excited about. It's just going to be a matter of fact of can we score enough to win some of those games, and so we're kind of filling some of the holes that are created by all those guys graduating out and moving on.
Yeah, I was definitely excited to see the Keenan Ingram acquisition back in this. I guess it was back in the late spring, early summer. He had such a good start with Kindersley last year. They moved on from him, but to bring him back into the league, it's exciting to see, and I'm sure he'll be a massive part of the offense this season. Let's look at your blue line group. Just in general, you're bringing some guys back, but you've also added some guys over the summer. Who are you excited to get to work with on that blue line group this season?
Well, yeah, we actually only returned two guys from last year's team. It was three, and with Greeno going to school in Calgary, there it leaves Oxigren and Vedras coming back. And I mean, at the end of the day, Vedras still an 18-year-old. I mean, there's going to be a lot of growth in his game still. Ox is going into his third year, so I mean, he's going to take on a bigger role. But adding guys like Josh Carman out of the Battleford deal, that's a huge deal for us. We're able to sign Connor Frost, who was in the BCHL last year, still only 18 years old. So, we're excited about him. I think those two guys have a chance to be a real good defenseman in our league here over the next couple of years. And so that's huge for us. And, we've got, we signed Max Chakrabarty out of the KI. He was KI Defenseman of the Year. He's a big body that skates well, has offensive upside. We had a pile of points in that league last year. So, stuff like that is good. And I mean, we've got Chad LeBeau coming in from Fort McMurray as well. And our back end is pretty good. And we haven't even talked about Simon Martin yet, who we acquired from Humboldt at the deadline last year, for this year. And so everybody, lots of guys have seen him play. He's a dynamic skater. He's good offensively. So I mean, we're really excited about that back end, the way it's kind of shaping up.
Yeah, now one area that I have a feeling you're very confident in, basically because you're returning both your guys from last year. Daza Mitchell's coming back in net, and Angelo Zoll as well. Both guys put up really great numbers last year. Daza, nominee for goaltender of the year. What can you tell us about those two guys and how excited and how much of a luxury I would say it is to be bringing back both those guys in net this year?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you can't really ask for a better situation. I'm not in my 5 years here. I don't recall another situation where teams are bringing back both guys that I truly think both guys are starters. Down the stretch, like Angelo was so good. We went on that North trip and he single-handedly won 2 games in La Ronge for us. There was some stretches down the road where we really needed him, and he was so good for us. And so, I mean, there's a good competition. They're great teammates with each other. They both want the net, obviously. But I think there's a chance that those two guys, if they were on separate teams, they could both be looking at goalie of the year nominations. And so, I mean, for us to have that luxury is huge. And I think people maybe underestimate what it adds to in your practices as well. Like, we play some small area games and stuff like that, and they go on for way longer than they should. And it's 10 bell save after 10 bell save on both sides. And so, stuff like that makes practice more competitive and makes everybody else around them better too.
Yeah, I'm sure Red Wings fans are over the moon excited to have both those guys coming back this season. On the ice now, let's look at last year again really quick. What are some areas from last year that you really hope to, let's say, improve this year, I guess? Just maybe it's a certain amount of numbers that you want to improve on, or area of the game that you want to get better at as a team. What are some areas that you want to improve on this year?
Well, I think, like down the stretch, our probably from February on, our discipline was a lot better. We have to carry that over this year. Losing guys like Maharaj and Manette and Hodson and that kind of stuff. Like, our power play was smoking hot at the end of the year. That's going to take some time to get going. And so, if you're behind the 8 ball with the discipline right away, that's going to be a problem. So we got to make sure that is priority number one, I would say. But at the end of the day, we've got a lot of good building blocks, I guess, from last year. And I think our PK, we're excited for it. It's going to be a lot of what we saw last year. I don't think there's many secrets once a coach kind of settles into a system, and the league doesn't change all that much. So I mean, I think that we're going to stick with kind of what gave us success. And I do think that our power play is going to be different this year, but it's going to be good. But yeah, no, I think not too much that we want to change. We really do like the way that we play, and once we kind of get it dialed in, we'll be good.
So championship aside, because I know that's the obvious answer to this question, but what are some goals, or what are some things that you want to accomplish this year on the ice? Maybe some targets that you're aiming for, stuff like that. What are some goals for the Red Wings on the ice this year?
Yeah, you know what? I think scholarships is always a goal. I think we have some of the 18-year-olds we have coming in, and 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds too. I truly do believe that we have a few guys that could be Division I guys. We want to make sure that we give those guys the best chance to succeed. The 20-year-olds, making sure that they have good years, that we set them up to have good years so that they can get the best scholarship possible as well. That's just always a priority. One of the things that we've kind of added this year, we've obviously hiring Casey O'Brien as a full-time assistant coach now. We've added a skills coach as well. And so one of the things that I thought in that Humboldt series that, everybody always talks about how skilled Humboldt is. But I do think at the end of the day, last year in Game 7, they had, one or two guys that made one or two more plays than we did, and that was the difference. And so, I mean, we've put a lot of emphasis on, building our skill set throughout the year even more this year, so that when we end up in that situation again, we have guys that are making more plays than the other guys. And so I think that's a huge priority for us as well. You always look at the game, and it's, there's things said like, oh, got to make a play there. Well, that just comes down to your skill set. And so, I mean, that's going to be a huge thing for us. And we talk so much about mentality here. We believe on day one that, we're coming here to win championships, and that's got to be our mentality. Whether, it's a long-term goal. We're playing the long game. It's not, you're not winning a championship on September 15th. So, we're going to continue to work on that mentality through our performance program. And that's a huge deal for us.
That all sounds great. Cody, thank you so much for joining us today. I know camps are just around the corner, and preseason's not that far away. Home opener's not that far away. So I'll let you get back to the prep, and appreciate the time today. We'll talk to you once the season gets underway.
Thanks, Clark.